Today, I begin a focused exploration that cuts straight to the heart of common misconceptions about minimalism. In this discussion, I set aside introductory details and immediately dive into debunking myths that have clouded the true essence of living intentionally. I envision a cluttered mind, not filled with physical objects, but with misunderstandings and exaggerated beliefs passed down over time. Sitting in a bright, airy room with hints of organized chaos, I reflect on how many equate minimalism with sacrifice, emptiness, or even ascetic deprivation. My goal is to unravel these pretenses and reveal a lifestyle that celebrates clarity, balance, and purpose. By examining prevalent myths, I will highlight how minimalism is not about renouncing life's pleasures or weaponizing simplicity against oneself. Instead, it invites individuals to consider what truly adds value to their lives. As I guide you through this narrative, I present both historical context and personal insights, all woven into a story that challenges stereotypes and encourages a renewed perspective. With precise examples and genuine reflections, this segment opens the conversation, setting the stage for a balanced understanding that awaits exploration in the segments to follow. Thus, my journey begins with honesty and insightful examination, indeed transformative. Turning my focus to the first myth, I explore the misconception that minimalism requires one to embrace an extreme ascetic existence. Many people believe that to live minimally, one must renounce all forms of comfort and joy, sacrificing even the simplest pleasures in life. I recall vivid images of individuals who appeared to live in barren spaces, where every item was ruthlessly eliminated in pursuit of a pristine emptiness. This extreme interpretation of minimalism has, at times, been glamorized by certain influencers and misrepresented by sensationalized stories. In reality, minimalism is about intentional living rather than self-imposed deprivation. It is a nuanced practice that invites each person to evaluate what truly matters, rather than demanding an all-or-nothing approach to life. I remember watching a documentary where a person once isolated themselves completely, believing that a life devoid of all possessions would lead to spiritual purity. The contrast between that isolated experiment and what minimalism can offer is stark. Minimalism, when practiced thoughtfully, does not imply a life of constant sacrifice, but rather encourages a mindful assessment of one's belongings and commitments. In my own experience, I have seen friends who, instead of stripping away every vestige of comfort, chose to keep a few meaningful items that held significant personal value. These examples serve as powerful reminders that minimalism is not synonymous with an ascetic lifestyle. As I travel through various urban neighborhoods, I witness families organizing their living spaces in ways that balance necessity with beauty, proving that minimalism can coexist with a warm, fulfilling life. Instead of being rooted in constant deprivation, the minimalist approach I advocate for is one of thoughtful reduction, distilling life to its essential ingredients without discarding the joy that makes life worth living. It is less about what is removed and more about what is preserved, the values and experiences that enrich our day-to-day existence. The journey through this myth is not an endorsement of extreme measures, but an invitation to reimagine how we define wealth and well-being. There is profound freedom to be found in understanding that minimalism, when practiced with balance, does not require sacrifice of the heart, but rather a deliberate alignment of one's life with personal meaning. Reflecting on these observations, I recognize that the true practice of minimalism should inspire liberation rather than restriction. It is an evolving mindset that adapts to individual circumstances and personal growth. Rather than a rigid command to eliminate every comfort, minimalism offers guidelines to refine our environment and energies. I see this approach embraced in community spaces, creative studios, and homes where design meets function seamlessly. The clarity gained from this mindset allows people to pursue passions more fully, unburdened by the weight of unnecessary clutter. In this light, minimalism becomes a tool for self-discovery, a process of uncovering what genuinely enriches our lives and letting go of what does not. This balanced perspective transforms the static view of extreme sacrifice into a dynamic, empowering lifestyle choice that celebrates both simplicity and substance. Absolutely liberating. Next, I address the second myth, which wrongly suggests that minimalism is all about discarding every material possession. This misconception paints minimalism as an extreme purging of valuables, as if life demands an untouched shelf devoid of sentimental and practical treasures alike. In my observations, this oversimplification ignores the deeper intention behind minimalism, the practice of keeping only what truly enriches our lives. Instead of advocating for a complete renunciation of material culture, minimalism encourages us to differentiate between what is necessary and what is simply extraneous. It is about discerning quality from quantity and forging a meaningful relationship with the things we choose to surround ourselves with. During moments of reflection, I have encountered individuals who meticulously curate a few well-chosen possessions that hold both aesthetic and emotional value. Such practices demonstrate that minimalism does not mean devaluing material items, but rather re-evaluating their role in our lives. I have witnessed homes that double as art galleries, where each item is celebrated for its history and contribution to personal identity. This thoughtful balance highlights the idea that the journey of minimalism is a dance between honoring our past and embracing a more intentional future. The removal of unneeded clutter, then, becomes a process of active selection, ensuring that every remaining item carries significance. As I continue to refine my own living space, I observe that minimalism is not a call to abandon cherished belongings, but an invitation to live with purpose. The thoughtful curation of possessions, therefore, is an art form in itself. It requires introspection and empathy towards one's own needs and values. Minimalism encourages a respectful relationship with the material world, where personal items are treasured not for their quantity, but for the memories and joy they evoke. This approach, grounded in mindfulness, transforms the act of keeping things into a celebration of what truly matters in our lives, reaffirming that minimalism is about enhancement rather than eradication. Extending my reflection further, I see that minimalism in today's world is often misunderstood as a rigid protocol for living. Instead, it is a flexible framework that allows us to celebrate our individuality while curbing excess in a way that suits our personal lifestyles. By choosing to keep only items that enrich our memories, spark creativity, or offer comfort, we redefine material value in our own terms. I have observed how modern households thoughtfully integrate technology, art, and personal keepsakes, harmoniously blending practicality with emotion. In doing so, these homes become sanctuaries of deliberate choice, where each selected object holds a story or a lesson learned from the past. This process of re-evaluation challenges the notion that every material object must be jettisoned in order to embrace minimalism. Instead, it gently nudges us to cherish what is meaningful while discarding what no longer serves us. Ultimately, this approach transforms the misconception of minimalism from a burdensome task into a liberating act of self-expression that nurtures both the mind and soul. Now, I confront the third myth, which equates minimalism solely to the act of decluttering physical spaces. This perspective reduces minimalism to a one-dimensional task of cleaning out closets and sweeping away dust, missing the deeper, inherent philosophy. In my journey of self-improvement, I have observed that true minimalism encompasses not just the removal of objects, but also the clearing of mental and emotional clutter. The narrative of decluttering is only one facet of a much broader practice that includes mindful time management, relationship nurturing, and the pursuit of meaningful experiences. Simplifying one's physical surroundings is indeed a tangible starting point, yet it is merely the surface of what minimalism fully represents. Reflecting on my own experiences with decluttering, I find that removing excess items can lead to unexpected clarity. As I cleared out old furniture and redundant gadgets, I discovered that the process was as much about shedding emotional weight as it was about tidying up space. Friends have shared similar journeys, explaining how their efforts in organizing physical environments eventually led them to examine and simplify their mental landscapes. This recurring theme reinforces that minimalism, at its best, inspires us to remove not just clutter, but also the distractions that prevent us from living in a state of focused awareness. It is a holistic transformation that goes well beyond merely tossing out possessions. Observing various lifestyles, I notice that many who practice minimalism place great emphasis on organizing their thoughts alongside their belongings. Decluttering, in this context, becomes a metaphor for self-refinement, a deliberate act of clearing out what no longer nourishes the mind. This process strengthens our ability to prioritize core values, enabling us to make room for creativity, mindfulness, and joy. An organized environment translates into a more organized life, where responsibilities are handled with calm efficiency and creative energy flows freely. Such experiences serve to underscore that minimalism, while visibly marked by tidy spaces, is deeply intertwined with inner clarity and intentional living. Continuing my exploration, I delve deeper into the subtle relationship between external order and internal peace. I have learned that the act of decluttering can serve as an entry point to more profound self-assessment, where one challenges the habits that lead to mental disarray. By embracing a systematic approach to reducing physical clutter, I gradually extend the same clarity and order to my schedule, interactions, and personal aspirations. This transformation is not instantaneous, but rather a thoughtful process of aligning one's surroundings with deeper life goals. In witnessing the journey of others, who balance the art of organization with the pursuit of personal growth, I have come to understand that minimalism is a harmonious blend of external tidiness and inner balance, each reinforcing the other on a continuous path to fulfillment. Ultimately, the process of decluttering is not the destination, but part of a bigger journey toward a meaningful, organized, and joyful life. Each step forward brings clarity, empowering self-reflection and deeper contentment. In this way, minimalism evolves into a fulfilling lifestyle, truly transformative. In this segment, I share personal reflections and observations from everyday encounters that illustrate how minimalism is practiced with nuance across diverse settings. While many may assume minimalism to be a utopian ideal removed from the bustle of real life, the truth is woven into the fabric of ordinary experiences. I recall walking through a vibrant neighborhood where each home and cafe subtly exhibited elements of minimalist design without forsaking warmth or character. These surroundings told a story of careful consideration, a balance between aesthetics and practicality that was both inspiring and reassuring. Such instances serve as living examples of how thoughtful minimalism can enhance daily life without resorting to extreme measures. I've observed a friend who transformed a cluttered apartment into a serene retreat by selectively preserving sentimental items and discarding those that no longer sparked joy. This friend did not simply purge belongings, but rather reimagined every space as an expression of personal values and creativity. In doing so, they achieved a harmonious balance that allowed not only the room, but also their daily habits to flourish. These examples highlight that minimalism is a process of ongoing refinement, where the focus is on curating experiences and surroundings that align with one's evolving self. Another telling instance comes from a small local art studio that embraced minimalist principles while maintaining vibrant creativity. The studio's interior was curated with only the most essential tools and artworks, yet it radiated an ambience that fueled artistic expression. By keeping the space free of superfluous items, the creators found room to innovate and experiment, underscoring that minimalism can coexist with even the most expressive art forms. This blend of discipline and freedom illustrates the modern, balanced approach to minimalism, where less truly becomes more. In the course of observing these diverse examples, I have come to appreciate that minimalism is a flexible philosophy rather than a strict rulebook. Each instance, whether it involves a cozy living room or an innovative workspace, teaches that minimalism can be personalized to fit various lifestyles. The key is in thoughtfully choosing what complements our lives, rather than succumbing to an idealized notion of constant austerity. This understanding of minimalism as an adaptive practice reaffirms that it is perfectly normal to retain items of sentimental value while still pursuing a simplified, enriched way of living. Over time, these real-life narratives have reshaped my understanding of minimalism. I have learned that the true value lies not in eradicating physical belongings, but in cultivating a lifestyle that resonates with our inner values. The experiences described here demonstrate that minimalism is an ongoing journey marked by small, meaningful adjustments rather than a one-off purge. By continuously reassessing our possessions, routines, and mindsets, we open ourselves up to a life filled with intentional choices and lasting satisfaction. In embracing this dynamic process, minimalism transforms into a celebration of life's subtleties and the beauty found in simplicity. These lived experiences truly illuminate that minimalism is accessible, adaptable, and deeply rewarding for every curious soul. In closing, I reaffirm that minimalism is far more than a set of rigid rules or a radical purge of possessions. It is a flexible, dynamic approach to life that centers on deliberate choices and the celebration of what truly matters. My journey through these myths and misunderstandings has revealed that minimalism invites us to reframe our understanding of wealth and comfort, replacing material accumulation with experiences that enrich our soul. Rather than a call to extreme renunciation, minimalism is a practice of balance, an ongoing dialogue between what we keep and what we let go. Through thoughtful reflection and careful curation, we learn that every item, every ritual, and every moment holds the potential to add depth and meaning to our lives. This balanced understanding is not a destination, but a continuous journey of refinement and self-discovery. As I move forward, I recognize that minimalism is not about perfection or strict elimination, but about creating space for what resonates with my true self. The myths I have debunked remind us that there is no one-size-fits-all approach, and that each of us can shape a version of minimalism tailored to our unique needs and aspirations. My hope is that by watching these reflections, you feel empowered to rethink your own relationships with possessions and priorities, embracing a lifestyle that integrates simplicity with joy. The path to minimalism is paved with small, mindful steps that lead to lasting fulfillment and contentment. As I conclude this exploration, I invite you to view minimalism not as a constraint, but as a form of liberation. It is an ongoing, personal journey, one that evolves as you do, offering the tools to prioritize what truly enriches your life. May these reflections inspire you to find your own balanced expression of minimalism, where each decision brings you closer to a life filled with intention, creativity, and heartfelt satisfaction. By embracing minimalism as a continuous adventure, we unlock the power to reshape our lives. Each mindful adjustment becomes a building block for a future defined by clarity, purpose, and enduring joy. This journey enriches our hearts every day,